Alright, this is part 6 of the video Jewish Racism in the Federal Courts. Okay, so weeks and months, years go by. Being fired, I'm prohibited from working any other New York City public high school. As I live in Brooklyn, I look for work as a middle school teacher to no avail. Meanwhile, the New York City Board of Education seeks teachers in the Caribbean in a hiring tour of the islands, and has hired immigrant middle school and high school social studies teachers to teach in New York City. Hundreds of certified white social studies teachers who have applications on file and attended various hiring halls, like me, are not hired. In one hiring hall, we Christian white certified social studies teachers stand around and get negative reactions, and we're talking over 10, 20 of us. We get negative reactions from principals, superintendents, and assistant principals, while one black female certified teacher who lives at Exit 64 on the Long Island Expressway and would surely, quick as a whip, take any social studies teaching job she got offered within 40 miles of her home as soon as she could. She gets repeated offers to teach. At Sheepshead Bay High School, a 22-year-old female social studies teacher is hired from Canada. Also hired at Sheepshead Bay High School is Jeffrey Haber. He's a certified social studies teacher who is 3 years younger than me. Jeffrey Haber is Jewish, according to my older Jewish source still teaching, who was still teaching at the time at the Sheepshead Bay High School. Haber's last name is Jewish. He grew up in Brooklyn. He went to Brooklyn High School. Went to a Brooklyn High School. He went to Brooklyn College. According to the internet, like about a year or two ago, he made $78,000 teaching in a New York City public high school. Well, let's see. Just regard to Haber, in the summer, the law department has made a summary judgment motion, which was granted. But anyway, it was filed by an attorney, Daniel Chiu. He's an ethnic Asian attorney for the New York City Law Department, who has seen a meteoric rise in his station to the head of the employment litigation at the law department. And this guy is clearly being groomed to be a federal judge. Well, anyway, he tells the ethnic Asian magistrate, Marilyn Dolan-Go, and the Jewish judge, Mauskopf, that I have not proven Haber is Jewish. Now, New York and federal attorney ethical canons forbid an attorney from hiding a material fact from the court on a material issue, and forbid an attorney who has knowledge from hiding a material fact or law where a judge is making a decision based upon lack of knowledge. Daniel Chiu never provided an affidavit from Jeffrey Haber that Haber is not Jewish, or an affidavit that Haber is not of ethnic Jewish descent. Now, the law department is obviously hiding the fact that Haber is a Jew. I'm asking anyone out there who has taught in any of the high schools where Jeffrey Haber is taught. I think he taught at Sheepshead Bay, he taught at maybe Canarsie, he might have taught, I think he recently taught at some Life High School. If you have any information that Jeffrey Haber is a Jew, please contact me. Did he wear a yarmulke at some point? Do you know what congregation or synagogue he goes to? Did he mention having his family over to celebrate the Jewish holidays? Do you know maybe where he was married? If his children were bar and bat mitzvah, if he has any? I will forward this information to the federal and New York State Bar to have them take disciplinary action against Mr. Chiu. In all likelihood, neither the federal or the New York State Bar will bring an action against Mr. Chiu, because he was furthering the religious mandate for Jews to give fellow jobs to Jews, and all Jews know this is mitzvah. But at least with this information, we non-Jews can keep Mr. Chiu from getting appointed as a judge. So anyway, my firing and unsatisfactory rating are upheld at various chancellor levels through the months and years. Joel Klein, a Jew, is the chancellor of the New York City Public Schools. Just so you know, when I was originally fired, there was no chancellor because Rudy Crew, Black or Park Black, he had already resigned. Even though he supposedly fired me, he wasn't there. So finally, the final collective bargaining appeal was heard by a panel comprised of, it's a joint panel comprised of a joint panel member chosen by each side, a member chosen by the chancellor, and a member chosen by the union. All three recommend that the firing be reversed pursuant to the collective bargaining agreement. The former Brooklyn Superintendent Joyce Coppin has now been promoted to head of all firing and hiring at the New York City Department of Education, so she can carry out the plan to ethnically cleanse the Department of Education of all non-Jewish whites in every New York City public school at this time. The new Brooklyn superintendent, who is black, upholds the panel's decision and reverses my firing. I am, however, told I'm not permitted to teach. The New York City Department of Education has a method of firing teachers outside of the collective bargaining agreement. The route to fire teachers who win by enforcing the collective bargaining agreement is putting them on an ineligible inquiry teaching list, and for those who challenge that ineligible list determination, by revoking their New York City teaching license, which is granted by the Chancellor of New York City Public Schools in an administrative hearing void of due process. That's called the Circular 31 hearing. Without the Chancellor's consent, a teacher is not permitted to teach in the New York City Public Schools, even though they have a state certificate to teach. This route of firing around the collective bargaining agreement violates the collective bargaining agreement, but the teachers' union never challenged the proceeding. It makes me wonder, what was my point of paying union dues to ensure my rights under the collective bargaining agreement if the Department of Education of New York City could fire me anyway? Alright, so I am charged, when I get charged, I'm charged with the exact same charges I was previously. Added to the charges, added charges are based on 6 unsworn writings of students. Well, actually, it's, let's see, the charges, actually it's 5. The charges based on the writing are from alleged incidents over 2 years before. Although the collective bargaining agreement in effect at the time required all adverse, no, I'm good. It required all adverse information kept in a teacher file to be turned over in 6 months, or at the very latest a year, for a teacher to, so they could see and gather information and respond. The union refuses to file an action for breach of collective bargaining agreement. The union at that time was run by Rainey Weingartner, a Jewish attorney who was never a career teacher. So, the new charges eventually are being incompetent, having to include the old charges, being incompetent, too many absences, filing grades 1 day late. Now, the new charges are based on the unsworn writings of 5 students. Actually, there were 8 statements, but one white guy wrote nothing remotely close to getting me fired. He said my tests were too hard and I didn't teach like a normal teacher. A black girl wrote my notes never made sense and that she was mad I didn't let her get up out of her seat anytime she wanted to and throw out a paper without permission. Okay. Yet another black girl wrote, I told students that they would never make it to college or achieve something outside the school, and that I said handouts were stupid. Kind of doubtful a jury would find telling students if they don't apply themselves they won't make it to college or succeed in life, or that worksheets aren't going to make them smarter. It's doubtful a jury's going to say, yeah, that's a firing offense. So we're left with 5 writings, unsworn statements. Let's see. One of the complainers is from, surprise, surprise, Jewish Pierced Goth Girl number 1, who, the one who I wrote up in February 1999, a 12th grader. Oh, incidentally, everything that was written like in March, April, or May. Anything that was dated, it was after my initial first observation, unsatisfactory. Alright, let's see. And then there's another one of the complainers is written by her friend, Jewish Pierced Goth Girl number 2, a 12th grader. The 12th grader who used to berate me in the social studies office. Now, Goth Girl number 2 was not in any of my classes, yet she complained about things I allegedly said in the social studies office when I couldn't get her out. Things like discussing the teaching methods of other teachers with fellow teachers. As an aside, we had 4 teachers in the department that had 9th graders color maps with crayons during class and create colored propaganda posters. Classic, ridiculous, self-esteem building stuff along with debunked tactile teaching theory that was criticized in a scholarly article I posted on the Social Studies Office bulletin board. One teacher got so offended he wrote, and I'm paraphrasing, F you on the article I posted. So much for the intellectual discourse and vocabulary of our social studies department. Guy wasn't Jewish or any underrepresented minority. He had the sexual orientation thing going for him, and that made him a protected class where he wasn't going to get fired unless he propositioned a student. Goth Girl number 2 relates in her 3-page statement what Goth Girl 1 in her 1-page writing said about how I allegedly said in class that a woman's place was in the kitchen. Goth Girl 1 indicated I allegedly said gays weren't normal, sorry. Both Jewish Pierced Goth girls related how they loved the social studies classes with crayons. So, then there was a 1-page writing of White Pierced Goth Girl number 3. Now she's in a different class and a grade than Goth Girls 1 and 2. She relates how I allegedly said gays were disgusting and that all non-Christians should go to hell. Then in a rambling 5-line sentence, a black girl in 10th grade in the same class as Goth Girl 3 relates I allegedly talked about a bartender teacher and gay teacher and how they taught. Just for the record, when kids complain they actually had to read a book in my class or that they actually had to discuss what they read from a worksheet and that my class was too hard, bursting out laughing when the kids told me other teachers let them color with crayons is not making fun of teachers. It's just a reaction. Okay, this is, let's see.